Fit for purpose, why leadership with contextual intelligence is key to sustainable organizational success. Well, this is the title of strategic advisor Thabang Motsohi's latest book. Now, in this offering, Thabang provides guidance and knowledge resources on the critical aspects of just how organizations should be managed and what specific discipline and culture must be developed in order to deliver on their value propositions and objectives. Now, he is in studio with us this morning to help us unpack this read. Ndate Thabang, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me here.
You know, the general understanding of starting and running a business is, of course, to make money. But you talk of running a business which is fit for purpose. Do you want to shed some light on this?
Oh, yes, indeed. You know, one of the experiences that I've had since about 22 years ago, doing strategy advisory services to organizations, top executives, is that many leaders struggle with strategy execution.
Yeah.
It is something that has been baffling not only this generation, many generations, ever since human beings, you know, started getting building organizations. And one of the things that I've seen is that people don't really understand that an organization exists within a context. And that context is always a very complex and dynamic context, which means it changes all the time. And you must therefore anticipate what changes may happen that may affect your organization. That's the first thing. And second thing, you must know the business model. What type of, discipline should I have to apply to the organization to achieve its stated intention, which is normally in what? Strategic vision, in the purpose of the organization, etc. And it is that lack of understanding of the context and its dynamic nature that creates a problem. So basically what I did then was, over the years, I've come up with a way of putting together what I call a fit-for-purpose thinking paradigm, or thinking methodology, that really emphasizes the most important aspect of, which is that, organizations need agility to survive in a changing environment, in a complex and dynamic environment.
In as much as they need agility to survive, you also talk of organizations that they cannot be successful on their own. Take us through that.
Of course. You see, organizations can be successful, but you need to marshal so many things to make sure that they work. One of the things that has been constant over the years, over decades, over centuries, has always been leadership. And yet, there are other things that we have to put together. And this is the message of the fit for purpose thinking paradigm that I'm bringing in, that you need to understand that you need agility in order to survive and succeed, but also succeed on a sustainable basis in a very changing environment. But I'll talk about that, for instance, giving you a case, an indication of how this can be achieved and the problems that, for instance, we are now talking about in respect of what? SAA, ESCOM. Those are typical examples of organizations that have lived in changing circumstances, but leadership failed to understand that change or even anticipate it, worse still to prepare for it, and then to understand the particular type of discipline that is required for organizations of that nature. For example, you see, when you talk about organizations like SAA and ESCOM, they depend or they rely on a discipline called operational excellence. All the components, parts of that business model must work perfectly. There is no room for failure. And that tells you a story. It says that each component, therefore, must be manned, must have the complement, a full complement of skills and competencies to ensure that it works perfect to expectation at all times. It cannot just go down. I'll give you an example. Take, for instance, when a pilot goes to the aircraft to prepare to take off, or even when it is approaching, he doesn't think about whether the air traffic control system works. He assumes it works. It should be there. It is an expectation. But in that system, in that complex system of air traffic services, what they normally call in South Africa now, we have air traffic navigation services. It's a completely different complex system. But I assume that it works as a pilot. And I expect it to work all the time. If you take, for instance, ESCOM,
Okay, just briefly, we don't have much time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You just mentioned some of the countries' state-owned
Yes.
entities, which you
Yes,
said
yes.
are based on organizational excellence.
Operational excellence.
Operational excellence, I beg your pardon. You also talk, in the book, you also talk about the organizational structure of the ruling party. What were your findings there?
Well, I mean, that's a very interesting one, that one, because you see, if you look at the organizational structure of the party, it is what you call an ANC-led tripartite alliance. Now, the component members of that alliance come with totally different ideological perspectives, not only ideological perspectives. Two of them actually represent, different interest groups. You have COSATU with the working class interest group to protect that interest. And then you have the SACP with their own ideological and interest group. So basically you have two interest groups that are in a coalition government with an elected party, which is supposed to represent us, the people that are not working perhaps, the poor who happen to be the majority. Now, all these people come with totally different interest groups. COSATU has to look after the interests of its employees, of its members. That's
Just by
what they
listening
should
to
do.
you, I get the sense that this book is a fountain of knowledge. How then do we implement all these resources you talk about in this book? We're in an era where finding funding is a very scarce commodity.
Well, you see, the book is supposed to give you insights. It's a learning resource.
Okay.
Gives you insights, and it promotes one critical thing, a new thinking paradigm.
Yes.
Which emphasizes multidimensional thinking in a very complex environment. That's very, very important. You must have a multidimensional look. If you think, for instance, about ESCOM, I'll just give you quickly. In 2008, when Alec Owen said, we missed the timing in terms of investment that was required. What does that mean? It means they didn't foresee, they didn't look forward, they didn't appreciate the change. And that's what the book is all about. It says context is everything in an organization.
Now,
Unless you understand it.
This is a subject that's very close to my heart. We could talk all day about it, but we don't have much time, unfortunately. But Dr. Thabang, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much indeed.
Well, that was experienced organizational strategy consultant Thabang Motsohi, and he was talking to us about his latest book titled Fit for Purpose, Why Leadership with Contextual Intelligence is Key to Sustainable Organizational Success. This is Morning Live. Let's take a short break.